Welcome to the News 9 Plus show on the world's first news and current affairs OTT platform, News 9 Plus. Let's start with what's making news. It's advantage BJP for 2024 as the ruling party sweeps elections in India's populous northern belt. The results of voting for the governments of 4 states with a cumulative population of 250 million people are another blow to the dwindling fortunes of the opposition Indian National Congress. Prime Minister Modi's charisma, along with the well-oiled organizational and electoral machinery of the BJP, have helped the party expand its dominance across India's electoral landscape. Most media observers saw the results as an indication of voter mood ahead of the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, in which Prime Minister Modi is eyeing a 3rd consecutive term. In West Asia, Israeli ground forces continued their offensive against Hamas fighters across the Gaza Strip. The Palestinian militant group said its fighters clashed with Israeli troops about 2 kilometers from the southern city of Khan Yunis. Khan Yunis and Rafah, another city in Gaza's south, are being bombarded with artillery and warplanes, with hospitals struggling to cope with the influx of those injured. An Israeli government spokesperson said the military had struck more than 400 targets over the weekend, including extensive aerial attacks in the Khan Yunis area. Meanwhile, continued attacks on shipping vessels in the southern Red Sea have heightened fears of the conflict spreading. The US Department of Defense said 3 commercial ships were attacked by Yemen's Iran-allied Houthi movement in international Red Sea waters, and a US destroyer operating in the area shot down 3 drones as it responded to distress calls. Back home, in a tragic incident, 2 Indian Air Force pilots were killed after a trainer aircraft crashed in Telangana's Medak district. A probe has been ordered to ascertain the cause of the accident. This is the first crash of the IAF's Swiss-built Pilatus trainer aircraft. The aircraft had taken off from Hyderabad's Air Force Academy for a routine training sortie when the accident occurred. In another extreme climate event, Cyclone Michaung is swirling over the Bay of Bengal and heading towards the Andhra coast, unleashing torrential rain upon Tamil Nadu and Puducherry. Most parts of Chennai are submerged in water with heavy inundation in low-lying areas. The cyclone is expected to make landfall between Nellore and Machilipatnam tomorrow noon. State elections 2023 were being called the semi-final election, because just 5 months from now, we will see the final, India's 18th Lok Sabha elections. The verdict is out. The BJP-led NDA has swept the state elections, winning 3 out of 4 states. The BJP is now in pole position for the finals, the general elections. This has been made possible only because of Prime Minister Modi, who made the state elections ride on his reputation and word, Modi ki guarantee. Arguably one of the most powerful political slogans we've seen in recent years. It flows from the confidence of a politician who was the first to score 2 consecutive Lok Sabha election majorities in nearly half a century. And now Prime Minister Modi is on the cusp of history. He could become only the 2nd Prime Minister since Jawaharlal Nehru to record 3 consecutive electoral victories in the Lok Sabha polls. But as they say, there's many a slip between cup and lip. Joining me to discuss whether the Modi momentum can swing the day are my colleagues Kartikeya Sharma and Gulam Jilani. Gentlemen, welcome to the News 9 Plus show. And joining us are 2 veteran political analysts and celebrated authors, Neerja Chaudhary and Nilanjan Mukhopadhyay. Neerja, welcome. Nilanjan, good to see you. Kartikeya, first off, Modi ki guarantee. Is this the biggest message coming out of these polls?
I think this message comes out because BJP as an organization functions differently. Congress as an organization is functioning very poorly. Modi is like I would take a word from Nilanjan's article today, like a sauce, X-sauce. But there are a lot of other things which go into Bharatiya Janata Party's campaign. For example, Amit Shah spent 3 days in Madhya Pradesh because he wanted to work on rebels. Or for example, the message that the BJP gave to its cadre, boss, if the Congress comes back, you'll have a tough time. Or for example, for BJP to deploy central ministers and parliamentarians. I think these are tough, high-risk calls which Bharatiya Janata Party takes. I recall that conversation, and this is the primary difference I feel. when a lot of journalists were around Amit Shah during that Diwali Milan, one journalist said, what's the difference? You are also taking into account these agencies. Congress also does that. It's like a level playing field. He said there is a difference. We don't farm out our elections. We tell them what to do.
Right.
But the difference is the election themselves are farmed out to these specialists.
Right.
So BJP as an organization with RSS is functioning differently, behaving differently. They're at a very micro level, like I gave you an example in Madhya Pradesh, or to do this sort of a terraforming that you ensure that Mamaji, Shivraj Singh Chauhan, doesn't get projected as a chief minister.
Right.
So at a multiple level they have done that. And what has Congress done? Congress just farmed it out to their chiefs. So 3 failed, it worked with 1, Revanth Reddy.
Right.
So Modi is like the topping.
Yeah.
But then the basic work is done by organization. So BJP as an organization is far more robust.
Right. Nilanjan, Modi centrally controlled, high command, vis-a-vis the Congress's Satrapi model, is that what went wrong? Was Karthikeya was just explaining?
No, certainly, Modi is definitely one of the biggest factors as to why the BJP has done so well and actually pulled it back from what it appeared to be, lost causes, especially in Chhattisgarh and to some extent in Madhya Pradesh also, where the party also recognized that there was a strong anti-incumbent sentiment against the Shivraj Singh Chauhan government. But Modi alone is not enough. Karthikeya rightly pointed out that there is an organization which now runs on a very professional manner. This was professionalized when Mr. Amit Shah was the president. The background to it is that it has one of the biggest, people's network across the country through the Sangh Parivar, through its Swayam Sevaks across the country, maybe more in some particular states, especially North, Central and Western India. Southern India is slightly less, but nonetheless they have an all India presence, which actually campaigns and turns out on the day of election to motivate voters who are not inclined to go to the voting to actually come out and vote. There are of course 2 other issues. One is this heavy element of the welfarist policies which Mr. Modi has been pursuing at the center and which is actually also percolated down to the BJP state governments. It's universally now being accepted that the Ladli Behna Yojana in Madhya Pradesh actually gave 1,250 rupees every month into the hands of the women of the state. That was possibly one of the biggest reasons as to why the situation turned in favor of the BJP. And then finally, we cannot ignore the fact that there is still a very growing support for the idea of religious nationalism, cultural nationalism, Hindutva, whatever you want to call it. But the very fact that this is the ideological basis of the Sangh Parivar is something which has actually gained tremendous amount of support in the last 9 years, and it simply does not appear to be stopping, at least as far as North, Central and Western India, what I like to call it as the Hindutva belt of the country.
So there's obviously that machinery that you mentioned, Nilanjan, that's topped by Modi, brand Modi, that's driving this entire thing. And this is not very, I remember reading this in your book almost a decade ago, the fact that he has replicated in the center what he started out doing in the states. Nirja, how do you see this playing out now in the next 5 months? In a few days from now, we're going to have the Ram Temple program being inaugurated, the first phase of the temple being thrown open in January. How is this all going to play out in the next 5 months? Will Hindutva be front and center, or will it be, as Nilanjan said, a mixture of Ladli Behna, welfareism and Hindutva and national pride? How is it going to play out?
I think that's absolutely true. Temple is going to be only the beginning, and the BJP can be expected not to, rest on its laurels. We've known that about the BJP. And, it was very interesting. I had gone to Chhattisgarh at the beginning of the campaign, and senior BJP leaders conceded that for 4 years we've done very little. The party is in a disarray, but we will get it back on rails. And this is literally, not even, say, 3-4 weeks before the polling took place. So they got it back on rails. Now, they know what the formula is. And Narendra Modi heads that formula. That established, experienced leaders in all the 3 Hindi heartland states, the campaign by the Congress was being led by a clear chehra.
Right.
Bhupesh Baghel, Ashok Gehlot, Kamal Nath. You couldn't get more experienced leaders who got the better of their opponents. And yet they are trumped by the BJP. So it is certainly Mr. Modi's popularity is undiminished 10 years down the line. We have to accept that. And there are other things added to that formula. We know that Hindu nationalism, national pride, social welfareism, they outdid each other in every state. What the Congress did, the BJP did one better. Ladli Behna Yojana is only one, but elections are not won only on one program. We all know that. So I think, and of course, what they have is a tall, popular leader, no family in tow. People in the villages tell you that. Who is he going to leave things for? And so on. And I think most important, and this is where the Congress needs to do a rethink and go on back on the drawing board, is the aspirational revolution taking place in our country amongst the young. And if it's true, which is said, 65% of India is under 35, somewhere Mr. Modi has tapped into that aspirational revolution. When he talks about India 50 years hence, 20 years hence, 10 years hence, it's not a gloom and doom story that's coming through.
Absolutely, that's a very
Somewhere,
important.
I think Congress, apart from working hard, building the organization, really needs to look at that phenomenon that Mr. Modi is a response to a changing India at the ground level.
Absolutely, that's a very important point, Nija. I mean, aspirational India, and Modi seems to have tapped into that over the last decade. Gulam, what about the aspirations of the Congress? I mean, I read that tweet by Jairam Ramesh where he said that, listen, it's no big deal because what happened in 2003, we lost everything, all these states, but we came back in 2004. I mean, is there any sign of a Congress revival, or you think it's too early to call it a defeat?
Call it Congress revival. They have done better if you talk about Karnataka elections, if you talk about Himachal elections. But these elections, if you go back to 2018, Congress had won Rajasthan, Congress had one MP also, which they lost eventually, and Congress had won Chhattisgarh. This was the wave election, if you remember.
Yeah.
Right? This was the wave. So, point is that BJP doesn't, as Nirja was saying, BJP doesn't sit on its laurels. Look at Telangana, the state that they lost. But what about the results? They had got only 1 seat there, and it has come up to 8 seats. We remember Hyderabad, Greater Hyderabad municipal elections in which Modi was there. Sorry, Modi was not there. JP Nadda was there, Amit Shah was there. Rahul Gandhi went to Rajasthan towards the end of the campaign, and it was their state. So I think Congress...
You mean the BJP takes elections
very seriously. So for Congress, they need to not just relook into their, campaign style, they also need to relook into their organization. Talking about aspirational leadership, what happened in Rajasthan? There's a leader, Sachin Pilot, who's young, who's 35-year-old. There's a leader, Gehlot, who's 72 plus. So what if Congress had decided to announce that, Sachin Pilot will continue for 2.5 years and Gehlot will continue for 2.5 years? I think a good chunk of young leaders would have voted for Congress then. So I think that aspirational factor, Congress has miserably failed to tap into that, which Neera was saying.
Karthikeya, you've done this very interesting series for us, Congress in Crisis, right? Tracking the whole debacle of the Congress, and then of course their revival and Rahul Gandhi's Padyatra. What is the strategy going to be now in the next 5 months? You have this absolute juggernaut of the BJP led by Modi and Amit Shah and all these new leaders, and of course this confidence in winning all these state elections. How is the Congress going to stand up to all this?
See, fundamentally, this win in Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan changes a lot of things. For example, the brand value which Bharat Jodo Yatra got for both Congress and Rahul has fizzled out.
Right.
Now, there is a substantial Muslim shift towards Congress in Telangana. But that can be harnessed, used, redeployed by Bharatiya Janata Party in a different way. But there are two big takeaways from Karnataka and Telangana. The growth of the Congress party has not taken place at the expense of Bharatiya Janata Party.
Right.
Even in Karnataka, the vote of Bharatiya Janata Party remained intact. If you look at elections in Telangana, Bharatiya Janata Party is more than 13% of votes. So Hindutva, in the battle of Hindutva plus welfare, the only welfare part of the Congress will lose. That is why Congress lost. Issue is that this soft Hindutva of these three regional satraps have fizzled out.
Yeah.
The real Hindutva has remained. We have underestimated power of certain incidents, and in a very globalized world, especially after 2001, that there is a national Hindu middle class.
Right.
Like you had a very small middle class in 70s and 60s.
Yes.
Then after TV came and the social media came, then we said there's a national middle class.
Yeah.
There's a national Hindu middle class, which after the murder of that, the brutal murder of that tailor, you know, the contours of the Rajasthan,
yes.
the contours of the Rajasthan election failed. So
Right.
one, the soft Hindutva goes out of board. There is no falling back on Bharat Jodo Yatra.
Yeah.
And lastly, the Congress will have to negotiate India before they can negotiate Bharat.
Right.
They will have to negotiate the regional satraps before they
Yeah.
negotiate the real elections in Bharat. I think that's going to be the real challenge of Rahul Gandhi. And in conclusion, I would say that Congress will have to decide. Their vote is not eating or expanding into Hindutva vote.
Yeah.
Their vote expands into the votes of the regional party, and I'm sure every regional satrap
Yeah.
after Telangana would have realized this.
Yes.
Karnataka, well, one-off states. But
Right.
it has happened in Telangana.
Right.
So after this, regional parties will also think how much they would like to align with the Congress. So Congress, it's a real tough job, because in front of people, you have this gentleman called Narendra Modi, where no corruption scandal has stuck. As
Yeah.
Nija said, there's no family. You know, he has a hell of a politician saint. He has reinvented, the whole Labharti program, which has genesis in the, Indira Gandhi's 20-point program.
Right.
So there is no single individual who can match up to Modi. That is the real
Right,
issue.
right.
The elections are going to be presidential in nature.
Absolutely.
You neither have an individual nor have an organization. It's like when VP Singh came up, what was the nara? Ye Raja nahi fakir hai, desh ki takdeer hai.
Takdeer.
There was
That's
no
right.
organization in 1989-90, but there was a public sentiment. So neither you have a sentiment, nor you have a sangathan,
Right.
nor you have an individual.
That's an interesting point you mentioned, Karthik. The fact that, the Congress's standing within the India alliance has been diminished. Nilanjan, how do you see the Congress now dealing with these satraps? They're going to be, knives are already out. You're hearing all the statements coming out saying, look, the Congress let us down very badly. Do you think it's going to become very difficult for the Congress in seat sharing negotiations in the months ahead?
Well, definitely, especially in those states, where the Congress is dependent on regional players which are bigger than the Congress which is there. Say in a state like Uttar Pradesh, even Bihar, it's going to be quite like that, where the Congress has declined, significantly in the last 3 decades. So it is going to find it very difficult. It is going to be a bit more, torturous to try to actually have a large number of one-on-one contests than what may have happened if the Congress had, won Madhya Pradesh and retained, Chhattisgarh. It would have been completely different. It would have been in a dominant position when sitting to discuss seat adjustments. But now it is to take a back seat and then listen to what people like Akhilesh Yadav say. Akhilesh Yadav was making all kinds of noises during the elections, saying that in Madhya Pradesh they could have forged an alliance, with his party. It's a different matter that his party did miserably. They had just about 0.5% of vote share. That's what I checked up last time, yesterday, that's late at night what I saw. So it was hardly anything. What has happened in Madhya Pradesh is that the Congress vote share has remained the same, but it is the BJP's whose vote share has gone up, and now the difference is something like 8%, which is huge. It is actually something that it makes the BJP the dominant party, as dominant as it is in Gujarat or as dominant as it is in UP at the moment. So it is going to be very difficult for all opposition parties. Unless they are together, they will not be able to, or if they have a wave in their favor, they will not be able to defeat or get the BJP out from power in Madhya Pradesh over the next, maybe a decade or another.
Right. And Neerja, what do you think? Now, the Lok Sabha elections, the results in fact are just 5 months away, right? We could have the next government in place by the end of May. What do you see as the possible black swan events that could derail the BJP's chances right now? Given the fact that it's taken an unassailable lead in these state elections, but as we also know, people vote differently in the states and in central elections. What could happen in the next 5 months? If you could look into that, the looking glass and tell us what could happen, what could go wrong for the BJP now? Hubris, overconfidence?
Yeah, I think what could go wrong for the BJP is if they display arrogance. The Indian voter puts up with a lot, but it reacts to arrogance. But they are too smart. They know all this. And short of something very dramatic, as you say, happening, things are going a certain way. Of course, you can never, in 5 months, as you say, is a very long time in Indian politics. Things can change.
Yeah.
But the other side also, I think how they react, will yesterday their morale would be down. But whether they'll allow their morale to be down or go back to the drawing board and go back to their core agenda, apart from getting their narrative right, which is to get one-on-one contests in 400 Lok Sabha seats that they had identified. Can they do it? Or will tough battles, egos, short-term gains, the smaller objectives come in the way? Because that is the only way they can still take on the BJP.
This, Karthika, this north-south divide that is being, talked about, the fact that the Congress is now down to just 2 southern states and the BJP dominates the Hindi heartland, how is that going to be a factor in the elections?
I think, you can't take solace in the fact that you have got Telangana. It's a good victory, but a national party without having any presence, electoral presence in form of chief minister is a huge problem, one. And secondly, South is pretty heterogeneous. You have DMK, you have left, you have powerful regional chieftains, then you have Deve Gowda, then you have Bharatiya Janata Party in Karnataka. So South is not homogeneous, South is as heterogeneous as North India. For example, people, it's like saying when you go to South India, you have this North Indian tiffin. So if when I go to Chennai, there's nothing called North Indian tiffin, I'm surprised. And you go to North Indian, they'll say South Indian food and they'll serve you idli dosa. And I say, what is this? It's like those stereotypes. So, but for me, if you ask me, the biggest blow is to a plank. When any person takes up a hegemony or a political hegemony, you need to have a plank. When Modi said Shehzada, he had a plank. He was taking on a dynasty, governance. When George Fernandez, and it's very well documented, said Indra Hatao, and Pilu Modi and other people objected to it. Madhu Dandapate sided with George Fernandez. They said it's negative. They didn't listen. Swatantra Party collapsed after that election because Indira Gandhi turned it around. They said ki wo kehte hain Indra hatao, main kehti hu garibi hatao. So similarly, the caste census plank has been busted.
Yes.
BJP has busted that. So if your caste census plan doesn't work, what will you say in Lok Sabha? Modi hatao. That's it. You don't have a plank. I think that should be the biggest worry. Why should Modi go? Why should you vote out Bharatiya Janata Party? Today I was stopped when I was walking with my wife and someone said, "Aap to keh rahe the ki Bharatiya Janata Party jeet jayegi." So I had to explain, boss, I was not saying. There was a gentleman in Mallikarjun Kharge's office who told my wife that Congress had done a survey and they are sweeping all 5 states. So if this is the response you get from people when you walk, you can imagine how deep this gentleman has gone. And then I said, I'm Karthike, and he said, yes, I'm retired Lieutenant Colonel. And I was like, okay. I'm not trying to create a big picture out of my walk, but I'm telling you how seriously when you say things about Modi is being taken. How seriously people take it.
So how is it, that's an interesting point there, Gulam. How is it that all of this welfare economics and, the caste census and the old pension scheme, none of this seemed to work. At the end, it was a wave election.
Exactly. What happened in MP was, as one of the speakers said, the Chief Minister came up with this scheme called Ladli Behna, and he said towards the end of the campaign that he will increase the amount to 1250, and he did that. He announced it around the I think around the Raksha Bandhan thing, and the money was directly sent to the account, and he said I'll increase it to 3,000 eventually, and it was the same time when Kamal Nath said we'll give 1,500 rupees. Compare the two. The people said हमको तो मिल रहा है, we are getting it.
Right.
We'll go with the person who is giving it. We'll not go with the person who is promising it. So one thing is that ever since Prime Minister Modi's welfareism, I think there are three factors. Obviously Modi is the factor, welfareism is the factor, and Hindutva is the factor. Talking of welfareism right from 2014, especially the DBT aspect of it,
right.
money going directly into the accounts of women.
Yeah.
Is a game changer. It has been a game changer. And look at the comparison of narrative. Sorry, I want to add. Ever since the India alliance came, what have we heard except for the caste census, which is busted as
There's
Karthik?
no narrative.
There is no
alternate narrative.
And look at BJP.
Yes,
While we are speaking, somebody told me that BJP is, apart from Ram Mandir, apart from welfareism, BJP and Prime Minister Modi, they are already working on a 2047 vision, which is being prepared by Niti Aayog. So look at least there is something on paper, on ground.
Yes.
What is Congress doing? What is India Alliance doing? It is just coming up and bashing Modi. I don't think that's going to win you elections. That will, in fact, help Prime Minister Modi's stature go up.
Right. In fact, Nilanjan, this, we spoke at the beginning about how Prime Minister Modi seems to be close to that hat trick, and he very modestly said the same thing yesterday, the fact that, he could be heading to another hat trick next year. What is it that all of these leaders have in common? All of these prime ministers, Prime Minister Nehru, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, and if you include Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, who swept 415 seats in 84. What do they all have in common? Apart from the fact that,
Before actually answering this question, I just want to very briefly, slightly disagree with this entire argument that the caste census has been completely dismissed by the voter. This is what is the claim of Mr. Modi. The first biggest hurdle is that we have to understand and recall that almost every political ally, partners of the NDA, had said that they also want caste census.
right.
Anupriya Patel, for instance, from Uttar Pradesh, has she changed her position because of this? There is no way of knowing. So when Mr. Modi says that there was no actually, it's been completely rejected by the voter, the way I would like to see it is that it is a complete failure of the Congress to take their promise to the people and then make them understand as to if they do caste census, how are they going to be benefited. It is not the end of caste in this country. However much all of us in this panel would actually want caste to stop being a political factor in Indian elections. But it's there. BJP has in this election chosen candidates on the basis of caste calculations and will do so again in the 2024 elections. So caste definitely remains a major issue. The question is that how does one actually tackle it? BJP has to settle the issue of caste census with its allies because this demand is not going to go away. There are other states, where there is a greater amount of caste consciousness because of, historical reasons. Bihar, for instance, and the BJP will have to increase its, seats in Bihar. If not, from what it had in 2019, definitely has to go because at that time it was in alliance with Nitish Kumar, and Nitish Kumar is not there. So there is going to be a big challenge for the BJP. We should not also say that because of these three states being won by the BJP, everything is they're going to increase their seats, touch 350, 400.
Right.
We have to remember that in 2019, the BJP had almost 100% strike rate in Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh. So they can't really increase the number of seats.
Yes.
BJP has to look, if it really wants to go beyond 303, then where are they going to get the additional seats from? Are they going to be able to retain those they had in Karnataka, which was around 25 or 26 or somewhere around that number, in Bengal where they had 18, which makes it 43, 45, that kind of seat. So the BJP still has to do a certain amount of consolidation, but knowing the party, it is not going to become complacent like the Congress became, on getting the initial trend that in Madhya Pradesh they're comfortably placed. Chhattisgarh is a sure shot winners. So that is something. Mr. Modi has never.
Where are those additional seats going to come from? If the Congress, if the BJP is to cross 303, it's maxed out all its states in the north, in the north of the Vindhyas. So where are the additional seats going to come from? If it plans to hit 350, and I'm sure you're going to hear those slogans, ab ki baar 350 par or 400 par.
Certainly they will be. When they put up the slogan of ab ki baar 272 par, 272 plus 2014, it had appeared to be an absurd slogan, but that is what actually energized and the party.
Those targets, target setting is really important. But where are the seats going to come from, Neerja? These in the next elections?
In 2019, after 2019, it was being said that the BJP peaked in all the North Indian states in the Lok Sabha election. Therefore, in 2024, how is it going to do better? In every state, they will use 3, 4, 5, 6. That will add up to at least 30, 40 seats. They've not made headway in the south. They are not there in the eastern states. Even in the northeast of India, it's lost a bit of ground. So this majority figure comes into question. That was the essence of the opposition's arguments in recent weeks and months. Now, if it peaks the way it has again, I mean, if it's a sweep in these 3 Hindi heartland states. And as I say, despite not having a chehra of the state leaders were not projected. On the other side, the Congress had very tall state leaders, experienced state leaders who run their states well. And yet there is a sweep, it's not even a takkar. So what is it? I mean, is somewhere I think they will hope to do another 2019. They will certainly go back to recasting the NDA for the simple reason that they don't have a presence in the south. So they will reach out to BRS, they will reach out to Jagan Reddy's YSR Congress. They've already reached out to Janata Dal S. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's a big thing to say today, if at the time of elections or after the elections, they reach out to the DMK.
Very interesting point there. Ghulam, you did that story on the swingers.
They are going to, knowing them, they are 24/7 politicians who have a hunger for power and a killer instinct. The Congress, unfortunately, has revved itself up. Oh, it's so different from what it was in 2014 or even 2019. Its cadre was enthused, they're getting their act together, but not enough to counter a juggernaut like the BJP is today.
Not enough
they have to go back to the drawing board.
But, Ghulam, you did that story on the swingers where a lot of political parties were in the middle space. They didn't side with either the India or the NDA alliance. Do you think, like what Neerja said, that the BJP would want to poach a number of those parties, including the southern ones?
Absolutely. I think these parties mostly lie in the southern states who have remained fencers at a time when India had 28 parties and India had its 32 parties. So at that time, they did not align with any of these two blocs, but close to the elections, we know that YSR Congress has been supporting, it has always supported BJP. Talking about BRS, taking it from the results yesterday, I don't see it as a surprise that BRS will align with the BJP towards when it comes close to the 2019 elections, because he won 9 seats in 2019, but I think he would want to do better and align with the winning party in 2019. There are other fence setters, including Behenji, Mayawati. She doesn't have a major presence in the state, but she has 10 seats in the Lok Sabha. So she can be a very important factor. She addressed a press conference today. She had just won 2 seats yesterday's election. But I think she might also decide to go with the NDA. I think right now they are fencers, they are swingers, but they will take a call close to the elections, and they will, whichever way they will go, they will help the bloc.
So, Karthikeya, you buy this, that the NDA is not going to be sitting on its laurels? Certainly the BJP is not going to be, and will try to expand the NDA, bring in more partners, especially from the south.
I think if you ask me, BJP has to pick and choose. Other political parties need to decide. It's like this. Why did Jitin Prasad and Jyotiraditya Scindia leave Congress?
Right.
Jitin lost 3 elections. If he would have lost 4, he would have been out of the ring.
Yeah.
Okay. Jyotiraditya, people felt that Jyotiraditya Scindia left because, you know, it's like typical mirch masala thing that, you know, he wanted that house, you know, they were not giving, you know, those
His father's
you know,
bungalow.
Kamal Nath was not appointing him as DM. No, he felt that he would be out of the ring.
Right.
So when politicians feel that they would be out of the ring for a long time, they make those hard choices. Why did Ajit Pawar leave Sharad Pawar? If I believe Ajit Pawar, that he actually left Sharad Pawar, if I believe him, because power is very important. Through that you exercise political control, not only in context of what you can do for yourself, but for people and organization, all 3 of them. So DMK will exercise that choice. You know, I think regional parties, in a way, Rahul was right, are ideologically agnostic. Only very few regional parties have taken positions like secularism. DMK, yes, has issues on Sanatan Dharma because they want to consolidate the Dravidian politics, and that is more Stalin's son's view than Stalin. But then what did it do? It had impacted the Congress party. So tomorrow they can also change their position. Look at the so-called parties with strong leaning towards Presbyterian churches in Northeast. They are all aligned to Bharatiya Janata Party. Sharad Pawar's party, part of India, they supported nefarious government. Why? Because all those independent who didn't get ticket from Bharatiya Janata Party, other political parties, they took his party symbol and they won. So that's the I would say give and take of our politics. So people who feel that if they are out of power, they'll completely vaporize in the regional context.
Yeah.
They will have an alliance with Bharatiya Janata Party.
Yes.
So it's for Bharatiya Janata Party to pick and choose.
Right. It's so obviously you're going to see the NDA expand.
That's the reason. That's why.
So I'm afraid we're totally out of time here. But thank you very much, Niranjan. Thank you, Neerja, for joining us. We'll keep coming back to you for news and updates on the Modi momentum as this election has turned out to be. Cyclone Mishong has turned parts of Chennai into an ocean. In Chennai itself, more than 200 water bodies that were once part of the flood mitigating system in the city were encroached and built upon. But water does not forget its way. Therefore, these very low-lying areas that are facing the brunt of floods are part of our story, Dying Lakes, Drowning Cities. It explains this phenomenon. Do watch.
बारिश और बाढ़ का कहर जारी है।
आफत आसमानी, जिंदगी पानी पानी।
Remember these videos that went viral?
बेंगलुरु के सरजापुरा एरिया में पूरा फ्लड का सिचुएशन निर्माण हो चुका है।
लगातार बारिश हो रही है। जम्मू श्रीनगर नेशनल हाईवे बंद कर दिया गया है।
They are the result of human greed.
This is every rainy season we are facing this problem.
These things happen every year. Government is just sitting idle and doing nothing.
In the place of water body, there is a building which is being constructed.
Well, the buildings were constructed on the lakes. Naturally, the building has to go under the water.
Last 3 or 4 decades, nearly 4,000 water bodies have vanished from the map of Kolkata.
India is the world leader in cut and polished diamonds. 9 out of 10 diamonds worldwide are polished in India. But the diamond trade in India is in deep distress. Russia is the largest source of rough diamonds, but Russia is under global sanctions because of the war in Ukraine. And demand globally is falling for diamonds for various reasons. And diamond exports out of India have dipped from $24 billion last year to $17 billion this year. Troubles, as they say, come in battalions. So we have this story by Kiran Tari on the troubles within India's lucrative business. To watch.
Currently, the industry is facing a lot of challenges as far as demand is concerned. And basically, as we all are aware of it, that US markets has slowed down because of high inflation.
So obviously, diamonds being a dream product, something which doesn't have a utility value or is seen as a luxury. So that obviously goes off your shopping list. That's the first item that will go off your shopping list, especially in recessionary trends.
that lab-grown diamonds are not mined, and they do away with the entire mining. So they save up on all the environmental damage that is associated with mining, and of course, the mining cost, which is why they're even more affordable.
People that is impacted by all these recessions are the artisans, are the people who work in this industry, right? But I think lab-grown diamond has allowed them to actually use their skills in the same product.
This and more streaming on world's first news OTT, News 9 Plus. Download now.
52 years ago on this day, the Indian Navy launched a missile attack on Pakistani warships outside Karachi. In less than 30 minutes, the Navy sank a destroyer, minesweeper and a merchant ship. It was followed up with a second strike a few days later. These are some of the world's largest ship-to-ship missile attacks. And on the east coast, meanwhile, in 1971, aircraft from the INS Vikrant bombed and strafed the coast of East Pakistan. Naval commandos trained Mukti Bahini assault swimmers to launch attacks on Pakistani merchantmen. Prime Minister Modi is in Sindhudurg to celebrate Navy Day. We'll leave you with this very interesting News 9 Plus exclusive trilogy on the 3 naval battles that shaped the modern Indian Navy. Do watch.
A war that altered the world map.
My missiles were ready. I knew this is going to be a tough fight because for them it was a question of survival. In our case, it was a question of destroying them.
Nerves of steel.
It was conceived by the Navy somewhere in April.
Over 400 Bangladeshi naval commandos fought against the Pakistan army.
I knew that my life will go, but I never bothered. We have blown up their ships, blocked their routes, and finally they had to surrender.
India has never acknowledged this operation until now, but there was this covert mission called Operation X. Here is its untold story.
Air warriors recount INS Vikrant's 1971 glory and her role in Pakistan Army's surrender in Bangladesh. INS Vikrant, the Bangladesh Brahmastra.
ChatGPT. It can generate codes and human-like responses through text, write stories, and do a lot more.
I work in a newsroom with anchors, researchers and scriptwriters